Thank you very much for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields, and thank you for taking the time to care about others and spread the word about this system. The immediate concern will be that flooding, of course, in the Western Caribbean, parts of Central America, as expected. Last night, as I was watching things, we've already had some heavy rain in spots of Jamaica. Cayman Islands, we are going to have tropical storm conditions, especially by Tuesday. A developing tropical storm right on top of the Cayman Islands, and then this will lift into the Gulf of Mexico as a hurricane. So again, a lot to cover here. Now, I want to start with this. The most likely path of this as of now, and this is Sunday, so as we go over the next several days, of course, it's going to change some, but I want to give you the early heads up. Now, as we go throughout the next couple of days near the Cayman Islands, it is either going to be a tropical storm or close to a tropical storm late on Monday and Tuesday. The rain is the biggest threat, though, from Jamaica, Cayman Islands, back toward western Cuba. And then on Wednesday, as this emerges into the Gulf of Mexico, it will be a tropical storm. The next name on the list is Helene. So Tuesday into Wednesday, becoming Helene. Thursday, though, that's when it will become a hurricane. Now, Thursday morning into Thursday night, we're going to see this speed up. It's going to get caught into a front. There's going to be a front up to the north that will allow it to accelerate some. So as soon as late on Thursday, there could be hurricane conditions moving up toward, say, the panhandle of Florida, potentially over toward the Big Bend, and then inland after that. So I wanted to give you a feel here, but please note that this may change a little bit more this way or this way. This may become a tropical storm a bit sooner, but I want to give you everything I'm seeing. That's my first kind of a behind the scenes feel of what I'm seeing for a track with this area. Next name on the list is Helene. All of the models have it becoming a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. The Icon German model, the American, European, and Canadian. I'll go over all of those. This front, that is the key with all of this. Long term with this, if the front's a little bit slower, it may make its way closer to Louisiana. If it's faster, it could swing quicker inland over toward parts of the Florida Peninsula. So the timing of that front is really everything down the road. And that's why I mentioned that track is going to eventually change some. Now, as far as that elevated flood risk, have now included western Cuba in this. We're going to see on and off areas of heavier rain. It's a broken area, as I showed you right at the beginning of the video. So some spots getting dumped on, others sunshine. That's how it's going to go with a developing system. So it's going to be scattered, but where we get it, it's going to be really heavy. And that's why we're going to have those dangerous rivers and that potential for mudslides, and watching that back through parts of Central America. Now, the worst weather for the Cayman Islands as this develops either into a tropical storm or just kind of below tropical storm status would be late Monday into Tuesday. This is kind of the high end, just to give you a heads up. Winds across the Cayman Islands could be right around gusting to about 50 miles per hour. So we've had worse as far as hurricanes and things like that go, but 80 kilometers an hour to about 50 miles per hour with a developing system overhead late Monday into Tuesday. As far as the rain goes, 150 millimeters of rain or 6 inches of rain or more. That is the biggest concern with this. So let me show you the big picture, then I want to zoom down, and then I want to go island by island with those rain totals and show you that European model. This year's the American model, which has done the best job with this system really so far, by far. And you can see here some of the heavier rain at times. Jamaica, this is by the time we get into tomorrow. Nothing organized, but it does enhance the rain, even Costa Rica and Panama. And of note, there could be a little bit of tropical development on the eastern Pacific side, just because there's so much moisture around. You see that there. So keeping an eye on Guatemala and El Salvador. But by Tuesday, that's where the really heavy rain moves in. Now, there's some better news for some of us, worse for others. As we get toward the Cayman Islands, looks like the rain will be heavier. But Belize, for example, the heaviest rain as of now would be just off toward the east. And then by Wednesday, this area moves into the Gulf of Mexico, heavier weather parts of western Cuba. That's why I mentioned the flood risk for western Cuba. But here's that front. We'll see how quickly it moves in. It is going to grab this and draw it more up to the north. So on Wednesday, it'll be Helene at that point, a tropical storm, and then it should eventually become a hurricane getting caught up into the front. This is later in the day on Thursday, and wherever it does end up, is it over here, is it back over here, wherever it ends up, there could be those tropical storm or hurricane conditions moving in later on the day on Thursday, which I showed you in that most likely path, and then all of that moves in, especially eventually late Thursday into very early Friday, gets caught up into the front and then races up to the north. So there'll be eventually some heavier rain parts of Georgia and then back toward the Carolinas by the time we get toward the end of the weekend, that upcoming weekend. Now, to dissect it further, this gives us a better look kind of inside of it. Kilometers an hour and miles per hour to keep everyone covered on the map. So there'll be some gusty winds at times, of course. If you get some rain, we're going to see some gusty winds with it. But by tomorrow on our Monday, you see that circulation there, not a tropical storm yet, but getting its act together right across the Cayman Islands. And that's why I mentioned by Tuesday, there is a chance it becomes a tropical storm as soon as Tuesday. But even if it doesn't, we're going to at least see tropical storm conditions. Look at that white shading right in there. So some gust across the Cayman Islands, as I mentioned, about 50 miles per hour. But the heavy rain, that's the threat. Honduras, Belize, here's the Yucatan. Most would be just off toward the east, although near Cancun, we may get scraped by some tropical storm conditions. So watching the Yucatan, Merida, all of this, the heaviest weather would be to the east, but then it starts to get stronger. This is Wednesday, and then Thursday, the yellows and these reds popping up. The yellows would be some tropical storm conditions. Now, some of the models want to take this closer to Mississippi and Alabama, as I mentioned. Others want to swing it in sooner. I'm not sure yet, but at this point on Thursday, it should become a hurricane. Then late Thursday, wherever it ends up, we'd see those hurricane conditions moving in, and then that gets caught up into the front on Friday and lifts to the north with some very, very heavy rain. Now, here's the European model, which has been trending toward the American model. Remember, for days and days, the European model had this moving into the western Gulf of Mexico. But not the case anymore. You see here as we work our way, let me jump ahead here and stop it on Tuesday. Tuesday, the rain builds. It's not showing a tropical storm at this point on Tuesday, but it is showing the heavier rain and a developing system, which would again bring some tropical storm conditions to the Cayman Islands and even parts of western Cuba. And it may clip us by extreme northeastern sections of the Yucatan Peninsula. So watching that right there, you see that there. So it may get clipped by some of those tropical storm conditions, giving you the heads up in the Yucatan. This is by Wednesday, like the American model. At this point, it has it Helene becoming that tropical storm and then lifting up to the north. But here's that front. So just seeing how quickly this front comes in. If it comes in quicker, it would push this more off to the east. However, if this front's a little bit slower or weaker, it would allow it to go a little bit more to the north. That's why there's kind of still a big window of where this may end up. But either way, it will eventually get tied up into the front. So this here's Wednesday and take you out in time on Thursday. And by Thursday, across the Gulf of Mexico, of course, the warm water temperatures strengthen it further, a hurricane. So the European model, all the models have it as a hurricane on Thursday. And then late Thursday, wherever this ends up, that worse weather moving in, getting tied into a front. This has it trying to move in toward the Big Bend or Panhandle of Florida as a hurricane late Thursday into early Friday. And then we'd see that heavier rain through parts of Georgia, even Alabama, then eventually South Carolina and North Carolina as that continues to accelerate toward the north and the northeast. A little more specifically, the European model brings it right there, just like I showed you, again, working its way up toward the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Now we get to the American model, similar scenario, and this has been locked in for days and days on this scenario. Then we flip over, and I want to show you the Canadian model. The Canadian model has this as a hurricane, very similar location. So you could see kind of getting closer to anywhere from extreme eastern Louisiana back to Florida. That's kind of the area now, but it's been looking more like Panhandle of Florida or the Big Bend. And you can see here as we get into the German icon model, all showing a similar scenario. So Texas, nothing is showing it coming toward Texas or Mexico proper. It would be off to the east as we get into late week. Next name on the list is Helene. Fortunately, there haven't been many names this season. Unfortunately, almost all of them have made landfall. We've had some terrible conditions, of course, with Beryl kind of highlighting that, Debbie as well, but Helene, the next name on the list, then Isaac after that, then Joyce and Kirk. Now look at this rain. It is going to be that close call in Jamaica. This is a 4-day rain total. This takes us through Wednesday. Now you see this pink shading, that would be 75 millimeters of rain or 3 inches of rain, which we could handle over a 4-day total, but very close by. It just depends on where the bands of rain set up and how quickly this develops near the Cayman Islands. This is off my chart. This would be over 200 millimeters of some rain. So again, that's upwards of 8+ inches of rain. That would be a big problem. So if this obviously comes on top of us, that's an issue. That's why I showed you the elevated flood risk map at the beginning. Thank you for spreading the word about the potential of flooding in Jamaica the next few days. Keep me posted in the comments location and what you're getting. Cayman Islands, that coloring that we don't like is right on top, and I highlighted that earlier. Over 200 millimeters of rain. We're going to have easily over 8, 9, could see 10 inches of rain in the Cayman Islands for a 4-day rain total. We're watching the flooding, but as this gets a little more organized near the Cayman Islands Monday into Tuesday, that may keep the heaviest rain just off to the east of Belize and just to the north, or at least near Roatan, and then just to the north of Roatan by the time we work our way through early in the week. Close call, though, as far as some of those heavier rain totals. You can see it right in here. And then as we get back here, this is reflective of that new tropical area. So Guatemala and El Salvador, I'm watching that. And of course, I mentioned those higher rain totals possibility anywhere from Nicaragua through Costa Rica and Panama. So there's the flare up of the rain. So this is what I was mentioning, how it's kind of scattered. Some of us have some sunshine, others are dealing with some of these heavy batches of rain. So you get these blobs of rain around because it's not organized yet. But where we get that, we get the heaviest rain, Eastern Caribbean, Trinidad, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, just a passing chance of a shower, a couple pop-up ones in Puerto Rico. Haiti and the Dominican Republic, we may get a few scattered showers and storms, and even Eastern Cuba today. Just as all of this builds, some of that moisture kind of tries to feed in. But this here is by the time we get into Monday, and you can see the rain, Costa Rica, Panama. Here's the core of it, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Montego Bay, Falmouth. We're going to see some heavy pockets of rain at times, not all day, but on Tuesday, that's the heaviest weather right there. Cayman Islands, that's when it's trying to develop into a tropical system, trying to become a tropical storm at this point. It can be a tropical storm at this point, and then by the time we get into Wednesday, this area lifting into the Gulf, but you still get these feeder bands wrapping into it, so we could still get some in Jamaica, of course, across Cuba, Cayman Islands, watching northeastern sections of the Yucatan, and then keeping an eye on this right here to see if anything tries to develop and kind of push inland Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador at the least. Dangerous river crossing, so be mindful of that if you're headed out to get food or water. Then we're watching another area. So here we are in Dominica. We swing out here, a new tropical wave coming off. I do believe this one will develop, and there's one behind it that may also develop. So let's just bring it out in time. But no, I'm watching this. Here's Barbados. Get over toward Trinidad, St. Kitts and Nevis. We swing out here and you can see the development as we go throughout the week. This is Tuesday, getting into Wednesday. This is Wednesday, Thursday, and this is going to develop. And then watching that wave back behind it. The early call on this would be a kind of lifting to the north, which would miss us in the Caribbean, but no, I'm just watching both of these spots. We are in the peak of hurricane season, of course, so not losing sight of what's going on to the west of us and what's going on to the east of us. Seas are going to build, no doubt. Western Caribbean, as we get into tomorrow, you see them building meters and feet on your screen, getting very aggressive as we work our way into Tuesday. And then Wednesday, of course, extremely dangerous waters as we get into Wednesday in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and that's all going to lift its way into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico as we work our way into Thursday. Incredibly high seas, and then of course wherever this goes in, dealing with that storm surge and just a ton of rain with this too. Obviously that moisture is building. Now all these systems coming off Africa sometimes take a turn. Not seeing anything headed to Bermuda or the Atlantic region of Canada yet. Bermuda will have some of that rain today. Tomorrow more scattered. Most of the action staying just to the south of Newfoundland as we go over the next couple days as we work our way early into the week. But you see the next couple days in Jamaica, watching out for those areas of flooding. We work our way into the Cayman Islands, of course, covered that in depth as we went island by island with the heavy rain and the chance of tropical storm conditions tomorrow night into Tuesday. On the flip side, Trinidad and Tobago may get a couple showers and storms tomorrow and Tuesday, 30% chance in Barbados. Mainly dry today in St. Lucia. Could see a pop-up shower or storm tomorrow. We do that again as we work our way into Grenada by Tuesday. Rain chance up to about 40%, 30 to 40% chance early in the week. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Grenadines, 20% chance today in Martinique, 20% chance over the next couple days in Dominica. Rain chance stays at 20 to 30% in Guadeloupe, so it's not super high. We could get a few spotty showers, though. Antigua and Bermuda isolated, kind of fast-moving showers. 40% chance today, St. Kitts and Nevis. 20 to 30% chance, Anguilla and St. Bart's. 10 to 20% chance, St. Martin, Saba, and Statia over the next 3 days. Rain chance about 50% in Puerto Rico. It's not all day, but I mentioned the chance of some thunderstorms could lead to some isolated flooding. A couple of the storms could be strong. Not as much, though, U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Rain chance about 30% the next 2 days across the Bahamas. Same thing as we get into the southern Bahamas and then back toward the Turks and Caicos. Dominican Republic, isolated shower storm. Same thing in Haiti, mainly south side with that developing area that's over toward the Western Caribbean. May draw in a little moisture. In Belize, I've lowered the rain chance some. It's going to be a very close call to see if any of this moisture swings back toward Belize. The rain chance will be going up, but not as high as what I was seeing yesterday. Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, generally dry. May get a small chance of a shower tonight as we work our way over toward Curacao and Bonaire. Rain chance 30% in Guyana, 10 to 20% chance the next few days in Suriname. 30 to 40% chance in Cuba the next couple days, but western Cuba, we may get clipped by those tropical storm conditions Tuesday into Tuesday night. Costa Rica, Panama, I mentioned the risk of flooding. Thank you for leaving those comments. Watching out for those scattered areas of rain and storms. Nicaragua, back toward Honduras, hoping most of the heaviest flooding rain stays just away. It's going to be close, though. Guatemala and El Salvador, the moisture building. I mentioned those rivers. That flood threat is going to be higher throughout much of the upcoming week. Mexico City, 30 to 40% chance. And you see the rain chance picking up at northeastern Yucatan. That's where we could see some tropical storm conditions on Tuesday as this area lifts into the Gulf. Northern Colombia, 40 to 50% chance, a 30% chance in northern Venezuela. And watching out for some rain around in Bermuda today. Tomorrow, though, should be drier with just an isolated chance of a shower. So heavy areas of rain, flooding, that is the number one concern right now. Gusty winds and the tropical storm conditions that will be around later on Monday, later tomorrow into Tuesday in the Cayman Islands. This will become a hurricane in the Gulf. And we have that new tropical wave off the coast of Africa that should also develop. So again, I'll be monitoring for any changes as we go over the next 24 hours. I'll keep you posted. If you don't mind, just to build this weather community to get proper information out, you can put your location and what you're getting. If you're getting heavy rain in parts of Jamaica or if it's sunny, all that information is good so other people could kind of get a look at that. All right, I'll go through the comments throughout the day. Have a good rest of your day.